All right, welcome everyone to the HR Business Service Committee, July 11th. Dr. Eater is delayed, so take this. The goal is to have it more efficient than she does.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a big,
That's a big challenge.
It's a short,
That means that I have to just be quiet.
but I get to call on people, so.
Sorry.
Touche. Well spoken.
All right.
I didn't mean to laugh that hard.
So first item, I'm trying to get we have a guest presentation, Marcia McClellan, Insurance. So take it away.
Do you want to make
Yes.
some introductory comments?
I do, yes, thank you. So, welcome Bob St. Arnold from Marcia McClendon here. We're very happy that you're here. We met, is it 6 months ago, and talked about our current liability insurance and workman's comp insurance. And we had a nice discussion, and I asked if he could also go out and go to other markets to make sure we're getting the best price, and he did, or he and his team did. And I'll let you talk about that. And the most exciting part, when we met just a few weeks ago, Bob and his team presented an offer to us that we could really lower our premium significantly if we were willing to go to a $100,000 workman's comp deductible. We've had an excellent mod rating the last 3 to 4 years, and so we're going to do that, and it's lowering our premium for over $300,000 a year this year. Apples to apples, the first presentation came in at a $40,000 reduction over last year, and that included our cyber liability and whatnot. So we talked about it, and we're going to go forward with it, and that is the proposal he's bringing tonight. So you have the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. As Simone said, apples to apples, if you didn't make any change in the actual coverage and what you're retaining as risk, because the last 3 years your workers' compensation claims have trended down, so has the premium. So that's really been the main driver of the overall premium reduction. The property went up a little bit because you've got several buildings that are under construction that will roll over to the property policy. That'll add $20 million of value to the property. We had a little bit of claim activity in the school leaders' errors and omissions area that's causing some upward pressure on the liability premium. The cyber liability stayed the same as last year. That's been a problematic coverage in the past, but the protocols that are in place in terms of the security protocols and things that were done are helping us keep that premium flat. But overall, that increase or that reduction in claims is really helping us on workers' comp. So what we did go to market, as Simone had suggested. We went to the incumbent carrier plus 6 others, Chubb, Hanover, Church Mutual, EMC, ICW, State Fund Mutual. We did get a late offer actually from State Fund Mutual for a similar loss-sensitive plan, but when we put your actual claims history and we stack up your guaranteed cost program that you've got right now with RAS, and we compared that to State Fund Mutual, and this $100,000 deductible that you're going to have to fund all comp claims between 0 and 100,000. And I actually did the analysis and went as far back as 2017 because I wanted to take the worst performing year. We don't want to look at this with rose-colored glasses. We want to be pragmatic. What's it going to look like in a really poor performing year? What would it look like in an average year? And in 6 of the past 7 years, the district would have been on the right side of the math. You would have had a lower net cost being self-funded with that $100,000 retention versus what you paid in guaranteed cost premium. Over the course of that 6 years, it's about $746,000 of savings, even if you take that one bad performing year.
So thinking about the 2 years where we had COVID and
Yeah.
moderate amounts of remote work, you don't feel like that would
I don't, because
necessarily impact that?
I think we're out of the woods. I mean, I think you kind of return to quote unquote more normal classroom activities over the past 18 to 24 months, and that claim trend still continues. So I think it's, when I first started working with the district, I think it was 15 plus years ago, we had lots of back claims, lots of material handling claims, lots of claims that were taking place with the custodial staff, with your paraprofessionals that sometimes were in harm's way with students that exhibit challenging behaviors. I think we've turned the corner here. When I look at the loss prevention work that your comp carrier, Dakota Truck and RAS has done along with Marsh, I see your leadership team being very favorable in doing what we recommend be done in terms of establishing a culture of safety within the district. So you have the right mix of things in place in terms of a good safety culture. We're meeting with the district. We just met this morning to review all of the high cost claims. We do that on a quarterly basis with RAS. I think that there's great engagement with the district on not only safety, but also mitigating the claims when they do come in for a best possible outcome. So in 6 out of the past 7 years, you've been on the right side of that math. The law of large numbers and time is on your side. So if this were privately run business and I were your risk management czar, if you will, I would say that this is a no-brainer. I mean, you really should be doing this rather than paying the insurance company the money. This just makes good financial sense. Granted, you could have one bad year. You know, you could have 1 or 2 bad years, but I think if you're in this for the long haul, I think this is the best way to finance your workers' compensation risk. It just makes good sense. So that long, high level, that's where the projected savings is coming in. I think you all did receive the actual premium summary by line of coverage and how that compared this year versus last year.
H4.
What H4?
H4.
Yeah, what questions do you folks have of me that?
I would like to explain, just so it's very clear with the workman's comp.
Yeah.
So we could potentially have claims up to the $440,000,
Yeah.
but we would have to pay that $100,000 deductible.
Yeah, you're protected on any given claim. Anything above and beyond 100,000 is going to be insured. But for all claims in totality, the district is only going to be at risk for 440,000. So you've got specific coverage, but you've got coverage in the aggregate as well. If that aggregate was not there, we would not recommend that you buy this product, but you do have aggregate protection. Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing currently? So if we're looking at changing to 100,000 worker comp deductible, what are we at right now?
2,500. So it's a big departure. Yeah.
So instead of $40,000 reduction from last year, apples to apples, this is roughly $312,000 savings.
And I think,
But we have to be, it's a chance, it's a
Yeah.
risk.
Right.
and I would also say that you are a very careful, like, when you take risk, it's within a very careful range. You're not wanting to just risk the finances
Not
of
like
the
me.
district.
No, I'm not a
Yeah.
risk
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we had to talk it through. We had to look at the math. Yeah.
He's
And,
our czar and he's doing this.
yes,
If I were, that's how I
he
would,
recommends it.
that's what I would recommend.
And then we are not doing, the terrorism, that's like $6,700. That's just included in the premium. And, I was just saying, when we were talking before the meeting started, we have coverage on the building site right now through
Yeah.
August 31st.
Yeah,
Do we have to re-up that, or how does that work then? When the building,
well, once you get a certificate of occupancy, it
Uh-huh.
will automatically roll to the property.
okay,
So I'm hoping you get a certificate of occupancy
Yes.
before August 31st.
We
And then
will.
we're gonna be gold.
yes, and do you need a copy? You'll need a copy of that
Verbal's fine.
for you, do we send you a copy of it? Or
Well, yeah,
we
yeah,
just tell you, okay.
yeah, or you
That's
just
all I
tell
need.
us. Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, so
But,
that's our chance that we're
yeah.
asking for, but
Yeah.
it's significant. If it. Worth it.
Can you explain why our workers' comp was so high for, what, 3 or 4 years? Was that one person, or was that aggregate?
Yeah, that we had multiple injuries that had occurred in the past. Like I said, we had maintenance staff we've had injuries in transportation. We've had paraprofessionals. We've had, teachers that are going in to set up their rooms at the beginning of the year that stand on a desk and not stand on a ladder. Injuries to SPI instructors sometimes that want to get in, might be a little bit overzealous and instructing their students in certain areas. So it really runs the gamut. But over the last 3 or 4 years, it just seems like, maybe some of our older staff that were more prone to injury, we are replacing some of those folks. So some of those people that have been on, the loss run have either retired or are, we've got, an improvement from a staffing perspective as well. I think that lines up very well for the future.
Are there other things that you would recommend to decrease the risk? I remember in a previous district, so putting more step ladders around the school or more walk like a penguin in the winter videos or
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, that's being reinforced pretty regularly with the workers' comp carrier with RAS. There's a pretty good summary of everything that they've done on page 7, where they're actually attending, your safety committee meeting. I think the lost drivers historically have been, and RAS has got a great program for keeping those paraprofessionals out of harm's way. That, the injuries that can take place with those students that exhibit challenging behaviors, it only takes a minute, for someone to not kind of be doing things the right way in that area where they can be severely concussed, or those are some of the high cost claims that we've had, not only at the Duluth School District, but at other districts. And I think RAS has got a program that's designed specifically for that risk and that exposure. We've shown it to the head of your paraprofessional, your department head. I'd like to see that more enthusiastically embraced. That if I were going to make one recommendation, that would be the department that I would like to see maybe a little bit more, visibility there.
My husband's a parent here in our district, so
Yeah.
I
It's
know
tough
the
work.
challenges, it's tough work.
It's tough
And he
work.
works with the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
But he does feel confident that he feels he's supported with the right ways to hold, the right ways to de-escalate, the right ways to manage movement, the right person, but he's got the right personality for it as well.
This carrier
Yeah.
that is on the account and is doing safety, they've got a person on staff, her name is Teresa Parrish, and she specializes in that sensory awareness before the bomb goes off, understanding what you need to do to de-escalate. And she's been very good at other districts that we insure, and I'd love to see her be doing more work here in the area.
So what would someone from the outside that sees that we're taking this action, what would their biggest either like judgment, like negative, like you're just trying to, shove it off to the, to the employer, or you're taking too big of a risk? What would we say as when I'm in the grocery store, other than call Simone or call Marshall Call?
I guess I would say that you've looked at not only the frequency and the number of claims, but the severity, and there's protections that are built into this model on the aggregate and on any given claim, that even in the worst performing year, when I first started working with the Duluth School District, the workers' comp premiums were in the $600,000 to $750,000 range. You had an experience mod of 1.85. That's how much of a paradigm shift you guys have made. You've made a quantum leap in your ability to contain the losses. So it just doesn't make financial sense to continue paying and financing that risk with a fully insured program. You're big enough to be able to better manage that. Why trade dollars with an insurance company? Just pay for the losses as they're incurred, and over time, it bears out.
I think that's the line. At least I would be able to say something, and we all have insurance. Well,
Right.
I have insurance, we all kind of, and, there have been times too, and I've
Right.
looked at other ways of getting lower premiums, because I really don't need that high
Right.
of a,
Right.
when I look at what my health has been and what things are going on, so.
Right. We could never make this work for a smaller district, but you're large enough, your premiums are large enough where it makes very good financial sense to finance the risk in this manner.
Any other questions? Bob?
That's good, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Susan?
Thank you. So let's keep the good claim history going.
Let's get those, aren't we
I
working with
know.
our parent board?
It's a year-to-year proposition.
PD, and so using this kind of information would also. But bottom line, this would not cost our workers, our employers, anything. It's just, we will bear more money if there's a high amount of accidents or claims.
That's correct.
Their benefits that are paid under the Minnesota work comp law are dictated by state statute, so that doesn't change. It's irrelevant.
And I want to thank Bob and Dee. They've been excellent partners. When we need to call about something, you are always on it, and we want to thank you for your great customer
Thank you.
service as well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
appreciate
Yeah, I
that.
appreciate it. Nice
Okay.
to meet you.
Yep.
Take care.
All right, now that we've saved money,
Yeah.
potentially. That's great. Okay, next. HR board report.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly go over the HR report summary. Not a whole lot of staffing changes to report in July. Of course, we've done a lot of our hiring leading up to this point, so we don't have a lot to report there. We are planning our new orientation for new hires for August 21st, and HR has put together a great half day for newly hired staff. we're excited about that. We expect to have over 100 employees in attendance for that. We've also been putting in place an exit interview so that we can get better information from staff that are resigning or leaving the district as to other things that we can do better from a retention perspective. Payroll department has been working on, as we've talked before, electronic timesheets. So all of our employees, including summer staff, are now on electronic timesheets with the exception of our maintenance staff. And we're working with that group. They have some anomalies that are a little more difficult for us to do with a badge in, badge out. So our technology side is working on that so that we are hoping by the beginning of the school year we would have that in place as well. Our benefits department was busy working on this HCSP severances for the retirees for this year. We were able to get those done within a month of retirement, which I don't think has ever happened before. So very proud of their diligence to get those done. Also, new health insurance rates came into effect in July. So working on all of that, and I've mentioned before, we are moving all our retirees to a no-vote benefits administration that will be doing all of our billing. So that'll take a little bit of a load off of our benefits team so they can focus on some other pieces. And they were able to attend the Be Well conference. They were invited through our Calm app to attend that last week and speak in front of a panel of peers as well as many other professionals there. So I'm very excited about that they were able to go there and present that on behalf of the district and what we are doing for our employees with that little bit of the app there.
So we're continuing that app?
We are, yeah, and actually they are just still astounded at the percentage of use that we have of it. So we have over 50, I think it's actually like 75% of our employees actually are signed up, and we have actively over 50% of those using the app on a regular basis, which they said typically, and I know we've talked about this before related to like an EAP stats, they're usually seeing between 10 and 15%. So I mean, we really are exceeding it quite a bit, which is again one of the reasons we were invited to speak. Quick hiring updates. Our certified staff, we posted 185 jobs and filled 145 to date. You can see the teaching positions that are still posted out there, and that was as of last Friday. Non-certified staff, we have posted, you can see the number of positions there, 86 paras, we filled 53. We haven't filled any of our food service positions yet, but we are working on that. And we are starting to fill the maintenance positions. I think we had 6 actually new hires of our custodial staff, which is great within the last week. Still looking for some extended year paraprofessionals. We did offer now a $300 bonus as we did last year to try to encourage our folks. Actively negotiating principals and paraprofessional unit, and actually as of last week I have a tentative agreement with the paraprofessional unit after 2 meetings, so that was very, very exciting. We met yesterday, Superintendent Megas and I met yesterday with the teachers union just to kind of start the process of discussion, and we have another meeting scheduled in August to talk about topics. So working through that, and then we are scheduling the rest throughout the course of the summer here. We have a few units such as the clerical that would like to wait till August because they're not on contract right now. So they are all, they all except one have actually asked for negotiations, and I think all except that one have actually started. We have a schedule for first meetings at least.
So we have 13 bargaining units, right? Union bargaining units, 13?
Yes.
Somebody just said it was 11.
11.
That was a lot.
11. It's 11.
I thought it was 13 before too, but it just seemed like 13.
And I can remember in my first years here, we actually changed the schedule so that not all of the contracts came up at the same time, but then I think, did you prefer at some point we went back to?
So previously we were working to keep them all in the same cycle. That was something that was through previous administration was interested in, but working with Teresa, I think we feel that it's okay to have things on different cycles and not everything has to be all decided in one fell swoop. There are some things with, like we talked about Me Too things, like the teachers get something and everybody else is thinking like Me Too, but the type of work being done by the different labor groups is so different that it's not all apples and Macintosh and Fuji. It's apples and oranges.
We do have one unit that is off cycle, our maintenance unit, and that's just due to the nature that we were so late in our negotiations with them last year, and then they had requested an additional year, and we were okay with that, so.
So are you looking to do something to try to change the cycle, or we just have to deal with it?
At this point, they have not been overwhelming, because they're staggered enough.
Okay.
I guess it's definitely something if someone came to the table and wanted to do a 3-year contract with it instead of a 2-year, you know, it's something we would definitely entertain as we get with the maintenance unit.
I'm glad that there's some exit interviews going on. I think that's been lacking in the past, and I think it's really important.
Yes, too.
Do you try to get those before the end of the school year?
Yeah,
Or are you trying to reach out to them after the fact?
Yeah, ideally, when we have a resignation and someone is obviously resigning in good standing, we would try to get that information through the means while they're still employed here. It's just harder to reach people after they leave, and oftentimes we don't have an email address or something of that nature for them once they're left. So, but the last few we did have their personal email on file, so we were able to, because it kind of went into place after the school year.
Okay, so do you send the same questions to everyone, no matter what job they have in the district?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, at all levels, so administratively, every department.
Yes, right.
Okay, other questions? Let's move on to child nutrition.
Okay, I can present on that.
Okay.
So Sheila Oak provided us with our child nutrition report. We started serving breakfast and lunch on June 20th, serving around 350 children daily for breakfast and 600 daily for lunch the first 2 weeks. Those numbers usually start to pick up as the community groups start to get meals from us and elementary summer school starts. Outstanding lunch debts. We completed a cycle for 22-23, and the amount outstanding is over $107,000. This is an all-time high, and it is affecting all other districts. I've attended NASBO conference, and it's a universal issue. We're going to do another billing mid to late July and again in August, and we'll see what we can collect from there. And then we'll have to have another conversation. The fresh fruit and vegetable grant school year was awarded $25,575 for Myers Wilkins from MDE to participate in our fresh fruit and vegetable program. And that's it from Miss Sheila Oak for the summer.
Do we have a policy about unpaid lunch?
It gets turned over to collections, and then at that point, we own the debt. So then the districts usually make a decision after that. If it's small enough, sometimes districts write off school debt. The first year I came here, we did that, but this is a very high number. So that's what I said. I'd like to see what will come in the next 3 to 4 months, and then I'll probably speak with our auditors as well to see what our other plan is.
What does it usually run?
It averages around 25,000. That's what it was when I first got here.
4 or 5 times.
If unpaid lunch debt happens in the high schools, it used to be a policy, I don't know if it included lunch debt, but it used to be a policy where you wouldn't get graduation tickets.
Things have changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't do that type of discipline.
And the previous commissioner of education was very, very adamant that all students' children will get that. So we don't withhold anything.
I would surmise that some are just assuming that since free and reduced lunches are here now to stay, that past debt is somewhat relieved. And so maybe that would be something on a legislative ask, you know, on this next cycle to ask our legislators to help districts pay for their unpaid lunch debt. And because we think that, you know, we are on free lunch now, but yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for that information, but understood. I mean, it's a fine line. So if it's truly because we really just have needs beyond, then, you know, then I appreciate the fact that we have free lunch and breakfast here.
Is there usually, when we send out the bills the second time, is there usually some response?
I believe the first round, the second round, they usually get maybe $5,000. I asked that same question, so we'll see. We're gonna send it out. Yeah, we'll get something, but I don't think we'll get a big debt, or a big dent. We won't make a big dent in it.
Does that come out of our general fund then to kind of balance that?
Fund 2, it comes out of the food service fund, yes.
Okay. So will that hurt their budget by not being able to then get, like, are we gonna lose our pizza?
Yeah, right? No, that's a great question, but if we were to offset the debt, that would come out of Fund 1. And I have to do a special form for that for MDE, because normally you cannot pay for something in 2 different funds. So it's a little bit more complex. But no, it does not affect their budget, to be honest with you. It's something that district holds.
Is there any desire, and I know that this is a tough one to ask, but is there a desire to allow our community to know there's lots of people that want to help our families that have this kind of issue? And when they know, and it's happened, we know that somehow the press gets a hold of this and they say that, you know, Myers-Wilkins or East or Dean East has $55,000 worth of lunch debt. And lo and behold, people rise up because they know it's gonna come out of another fund and help the community out. We see it all the time. I remember our past CFO saying that's a struggle, because when someone comes with $5,000 and says, here it is for students of need at XYZ school, whose account do you apply it to?
How do you
do that?
That's
So we also have to educate the public that, you know, can we get the whole 107,000 by all the different, you know, don't come and say, here's for this building or here's for that. Just allow us to start paying down this, because in actuality, we often don't get this money back. It is a financial burden for families in our community. So is there a campaign that anybody's willing to go out and help us? Because they do. But it's a fine line between whether or not we bear that ask. We ask for a lot of things. We ask for levies
and I think it would depend partly on that. Like if we weren't moving forward with a levy or referendum, I would say we might warrant doing that. But if we're going to the community and asking them for a referendum, which we'll know more Thursday and Tuesday, then I would say probably better to hold off to the bigger ask. But if the board decides against it, I think it would be well worth considering.
But sometimes community almost would rather help in this way. They just feel that it's so much more of a philanthropic desire on some people's part to make this go away.
All right, moving on. Facilities.
Tonight, we're asking you for approval of the long-term facility plan for 2025. And as you review it, you'll see that we have no real huge projects coming up this following year. I think every so many years after doing so many big projects, it's good to step back and catch up on a lot of the little things, pavement, sidewalks, door hardware, things like that, to keep our buildings at the value that they should be kept at. And it sends a clear message to the taxpayers that's saying, hey, look, we're responsible. We want to keep our buildings substantially up to date, and appeasing to, I mean, we want to keep them clean, we want to keep them in good shape. So the long picture down the hall is that our value stays with us for the next 50 years. Instead of, and then, but if, in a case that we would have a catastrophic event, we're able to move this money around and just make updates to MDE. But as right now, everything looks like it's in pretty good shape. So this year, like I said, we're gonna be doing a lot of sidewalks and pavements and hardware, windows, things like that that need to be caught up.
And I noticed that, well, one, this was turned sideways, so I didn't get a lot of chance to look at the colored one. But so is it typical then, as I page through this, that you just do this upcoming year as far as things, and then the year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you did the hardware stuff and some little, but is that because we don't foresee any real big project in the next 10 years, or you typically only look 1 or 2 years down for those kind of roof or turf or?
MDE wants 10 years, and it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
So what I look at is, I try and figure out, okay, what's our greatest needs for the next 3 years? And we kind of put money towards that. Again, if something catastrophic happens, when I was in Fridley, we had 2 boilers blow up in 1 year. We didn't have the money, we didn't have that money set aside, so we had to move money around to cover that cost. Which
MDE allows you to do that.
Yeah, they allow us to do it. But generally, yes, we go for the 3 years and just plug the rest of them in. It's just a placeholder for the money, but we can always move it around. That's the nice thing about it.
Maybe
So when you joined us, Brian, did we have, like if we were to look at our 10-year plan 2 years ago or 3 years ago, do you have a different vision going forward? If we were to look at our past facilities director's 10-year plan, are there things that you still have in there, that we still have in there, or do you have a different vision?
I think that Dave and working with ICS, I worked with ICS for many years in St. Cloud and in Fridley on the 10-year plan. So I think that we're all kind of molded the same, and coming to this district, looking at your 10-year plan, I could see that it's a lot of like thinking that we do. So
made them happy to come here.
Yes, sir.
So, odd trivia question, or maybe it's not so odd, but somewhat important. There was funding that went through with the state for gender-inclusive bathrooms, and to receive the money because we were allocated some of the money, specifically it was earmarked for Duluth. But from what I understand, to receive that money, it has to be addressed within the long-term facility plan, or at least mentioned, or at least considered with it. Not necessarily drawn out in detail, but is it considered at all within the plan?
I believe that Pat has got that considered in the plan.
Okay, good. That's
So this isn't the plan, or is this in the part that I can't read very well because it's sideways?
We can verify that before the resolution
Okay,
vote
okay.
next week.
Thank you.
So I think that would be important.
it's important.
Just because wasn't a ton of money, but it's something.
Right.
I think it was 125.
Yeah, 75 at least.
If we do go through with some kind of gender bathroom renovations, we could, there is some earmark from the legislature, but it would cost much more. And that would be an interesting conversation too. Just what does that look like? What does redoing bathrooms at the middle school and high school really look like? Is it realistic, or is it, that's not my
Bathrooms
question
are
for you
very
to answer
expensive.
today. Yeah.
A set of bathrooms, you're looking at $90,000 for a bathroom. It's crazy. So, and then with your general neutral restrooms, you have to consider that if you're designating a restroom for just that, we have to make sure we still have enough fixtures for the rest of the population that were required by MDE.
And I want to point out on the expenditure page, it is listed here, not a dollar amount yet, because it says UFAR's coding pending. MDE still has not
I just seen that.
established, yeah, and MDE has not established a UFAR's code for it yet either.
And I just wanted to make sure that we had some little note in
There's a
there so
note.
that if we get the funding, we can use it.
Is there a way that you can load it into board book, horizontal, so that we can, so other board members, before they come to next week's meeting, have a little bit easier time looking at it? Or, it's a little late now, but, you know, making copies for them? I don't know how helpful that will be on the night that we're going to approve it, but I know they always do like that, even though they might not have any questions at all. They can at least have that document in their hand, so that when they go home and you know, have more time, they at least can know what's in there and answer any questions. I don't think you're gonna see any big conflict, but I think we, as a board, like copies.
We may be able to email them the PDF prior to, that would be an easier way to do it.
Yeah, that would be.
Great.
And I did notice that we kind of jumped around, we skipped the facilities report. So we went into LTFM, so if we want to just jump back up to that.
As far as the report, I can tell you that the field is almost done at Ordine, and it looks fantastic. They're doing such a great job. It really pops. I mean, it's just, you drive by there and you notice it's the turf.
Can you tell me who uses that? I mean, I know is it our varsity, is it our JVs,
Everybody
is it youth?
A lot of youth programs. I've had some contact with Sean Road as far as, you know, camps that are established in the summer. He's already looking forward, hey, we can get these camps back on
Good,
schedule.
okay.
There has been some issues with it. Unfortunately, there is a woman who was a little upset with the district and decided that she was going to generate some noise with it. She does have a history with the district as far as lodging lots of complaints. As far as her coming to my attention was on June 29th, and this started off as a noise complaint. She's very upset that, you know, they were starting work at, you know, 7:30 in the morning and going until 6 o'clock at night. Basically, the workers were following the city statute as far as noise ordinance and stuff like that, so there wasn't really much that I could tell her. So I did print off her email chain if anybody would like to read it. She says, I'm wearing earplugs and noise canceling headphones. It's been over 2 weeks and they don't even stop on the weekends. And I was like, well, right now there's nothing that I can do about the noise. They're working within the time constraints. And then she had requested some information. I told her to submit a public data request so that we could follow procedures, and she did. I did give her at the time we had a project timeline that we were hopefully sticking to, and in her message, I had told her that we were looking at, you know, probably about the end of August or July for a completion date, and her response was, oh my God, this is going to go on for another month. After that, her complaints kind of, I did what I could with the contractor. He said we can you know, do these activities and try and get it back down. We got the week with all the rain, and we were kind of looking at, well, are we going to be delayed? They managed to avoid a delay, and now we're looking at being actually done a couple of weeks early. So we crashed the project, so to speak. We got the timeline condensed down as much as possible. Apparently that wasn't exactly what she was expecting.
So without going into a lot of detail on that one communication, so what you're sharing is the field is being installed.
Yep.
And there were some concerns that you had to address, and you've addressed those.
Yeah. As far as any questions, as far as, you know, are we using the right materials, things of that nature? Yes, we are. There's 25,000 plus turf fields in the United States at the time. There's about 1,200 that go in every year, an additional 1,200. Everybody says there's a study linked to something, and they just can't come out and say this is directly this. I've got all the information from the manufacturer. And they have supplied me with a copy of the environmental impact study guide. If anybody would like to read that, I can forward it to you. She's kind of, I think, standing on a box yelling to see what she can get any attention for. So I don't know, I think we've got something really, really special there. This field, we could have baseball, soccer, lacrosse, and football all scheduled. It's always available. There's no downtime. We don't have to use any pesticides, herbicides, things of that nature. We're not looking at long-term maintenance costs for keeping the grass fields.
So is this the first artificial turf that already used? Has it always been?
Nope, it's always been,
This
this is
is
a
a
replacement.
Okay.
And there is a cycle of replacement required for it due to the concussion and, so this was I think this was the first, maybe the second replacement cycle for that.
I'm not exactly sure. I know when I spoke to Dave Spooner about this, he had indicated that we had failing HIC scores, which is head injury combination. And there was also something about a GMAX score, which is impact attenuation, which applies to most of our playgrounds as well. The new field addresses all of those. So there's a study for everything, I suppose, and it's just how we want to apply it. But as far as safety, I would feel more safe with this type of a field than a regular field.
And I think, as mentioned, the response has been provided and the information has been provided to the person who filed the complaint. And we'll continue to do the best to provide that information as it gets requested. But we do not feel that there's any inappropriate actions being taken in the installation, or there was some discussion of ruts or damage to some sidewalks. We worked with the city in conversation, and anything that we have to remediate, we've already taken care of. So I think we feel very confident that we're good on this project.
And then I think that the overall question about safety of that type of material, I think it's there, as you said, there are a variety of research studies out there. I've looked at a variety of things too. Some things say it's, has carcinogens and things like that, but there are also the variety of different studies showing a variety of different things, and also, as you mentioned, the safety factors of having an artificial field as opposed to a real field where somebody can hit a rock or a irrigation spray or whatever. I think that there are dangers on both sides, and the vast majority of schools do use artificial fields these days.
It's interesting because our playgrounds are wood precisely because of this issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there was a lot of committee work and studies looking at the rubber pellets. Well, they weren't pellets in the playground, they were
Shredded tires.
shredded tires, but there were more studies on the rubber pellets that are put into the turf. And I'm sure a lot of it's done for financial reasons. It's easier to maintain. I think the health concerns are, as you mentioned, are still iffy, depending on who you talk to, but I think the jury is still out.
I agree.
On how safe they are. When you see pictures in the paper, like, I'm sure the NFL or the college teams use the same kind of thing, and you can see these pellets flying up in the air, when people put their foot down or hit the ground. It's not ground, when they hit the surface. But if it's done according to protocol, and I'm sure that they're doing those things too, and I think that we have to give people who are concerned a little bit of leeway, because there are some concerns.
I agree. I think that making sure that we have, if we are deviating from the direction of replacing fields with synthetic, I think that would be a longer study and conversation we need to have. But I'm not opposed to that for future. But I think that for the time being, this was seen as a replacement of something that was already there. But I do understand there are members of the public, and then also at least one of the board members that expressed concern about it, so that's part of the reason why I asked for us to have a conversation about it. I appreciate it.
The only other thing I would like to point out on the facilities report is just that there are some other ongoing projects, working with Lowell and Congdon. So there's a lot happening this summer. And then of course, our construction on the hill, which we have some change orders later that we'll be going through, but it's advancing nicely. And we are confident that we will be moving there by the end of the month, or if not, first part of August for the DSC transportation. Should be able to move up later this month, and facilities will be in the process next week. And technology.
If you came up the hill, you'll notice there's a little bit of construction coming up the hill by Lowell. They decided to start that project right away in our area to get it done before school starts. And basically, they're putting new drainage tile in there and widening the entryway.
The county's doing that to the road, so it does impact the,
Right.
they're doing the whole road and it impacts the entrance to Lowell.
Are we widening it?
Yes.
We are.
There'll be a lane in, left turn lane out, and a right turn lane out.
And did we have to secure a little bit of property?
Yes.
We did. You know, a little bit of,
Yep.
was it city property, county property?
It was private property that we purchased.
Okay. And we're not using any access to barns? I've gotten a few calls on some I think it's misinformation that we're somehow using barns.
We are going to be having a meeting on the 31st of July with the city and the county and the, is it Kenwood Estates up there?
Aspenwood.
Aspenwood, yeah. The city would like to take that road over and widen it and then give us better access. There's been a lot of different talks about, because the traffic is so backed up on County Road for parent pickup, that we were gonna switch it back to the way it was before, have the buses pick up on the lower and have parents pick up on the upper. But there's concerns from Aspenwood that there'd be too much traffic. So we are going to be meeting with them on July 31st to try and work out a happy medium that we can.
I got a call
Yeah.
as well about that particular issue. Again, Aspenwood was feeling, message I got was they're feeling left out of this.
Right.
I got a call today because he was very excited about, hey, I see all this construction going on,
Yeah.
and I haven't found anything out. That's the city and the county. We had nothing to do with it. They just notified, hey, we're coming in next Monday to start this. We're gonna widen that entrance. So I think he thought that the decision was already made to not use that entrance anymore, that we're changing it, and that has nothing to do with it.
I appreciate the conversation with them too. I think it's important for us to
Yeah.
maintain good neighbor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had conversations with them 2 or 3 times already, and I've been trying to keep them, but like I said, when they called a week ago and said they're gonna start on Monday, it was like, oh, well, I didn't have you on the schedule until middle of July, but you want to start right away and get it done, that's fine. So I think.
So city, school district and county and Aspenwood director or president or owner,
The manager.
manager are meeting on the
And they'll
31st.
be the principal,
What's the city's role? Oh, because the city would like to,
take over that, they want to take over that role.
Ownership of that.
The road is legally built for all city traffic use. That was part of the agreement when they built it, that it has to be built up to city standards and it has to be open to the public, which it is. But I can see what their concern is, that, if there's 2 times a day, it's tough getting an eye there. So I think the city is, in the big picture, is looking at widening that road also, but they don't want to do it till the county's done with their portion.
because I've gotten some calls from city councilors as well. So I'm glad we're meeting on the 31st and we'll let it go till then, as far as you guys have to talk about it, and the city council needs to hear from their position. And then, I don't know if there'll be a need. Do you think there's a need to revisit this at a school board meeting, or just let it go until we know more?
We're more than
or-
happy to give you updates, like I said, right now, there's nothing in concrete about moving any traffic around. That's why we need to have a meeting first. It'll be the school principal, assistant principal.
Okay, our meeting is, we have a school board meeting before your meeting, so there won't be no really news.
And the Aspenwood manager knows about it.
Yes.
We could keep the board apprised through
Yeah.
my updates. I could ask for an update that way, or we could share something at a board meeting if people felt like it was worthwhile.
Okay.
It's on our agenda.
Facilities.
Yeah.
All right, nothing else, let's move on to technology.
I just have a short report for June. I guess one of the things I want to point out is the projects and the status of them. I did put where we're at with some of those. Some of them are done, some of them we're still working on, but they're looking pretty good for us. We have a big crew, we have a lot of hourly help, and we have some teachers on special assignment helping us out to do all this work. Because we haven't had this many projects in the summer, many years. So, if anybody has any questions, I can answer anything in this report.
Our fishing and all the rest of it is under control.
We haven't been fishing this summer. We took a break, but we will be starting that up probably October, right after all the staff get their training, and then we'll start it up.
For a minute, I thought you were asking Art to be going on vacation.
Yeah.
And then I went, no, I should know about that fishing, that I got lured in. Okay.
So yeah, part of the fishing campaign is a requirement for our cyber insurance.
That's right.
So it's mandatory as well as the training.
I was surprised that cyber insurance did not go up, actually.
Yeah, this is special.
So it must mean you're doing a good job.
Yeah, I think you're doing
Thank you.
And I do want to take this moment to thank Mark and his team, as well as facilities team, with all the new projects that they took on this summer with the new district office, and it hasn't gone unnoticed, and they probably don't hear it a lot, but we really appreciate all of the work that these individuals are doing for us. So thank them.
Very much
And them and
so.
their teams.
And as we consider levy or referenda, I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about technology, because a lot of it is based on our technology needs.
And I'm really, appreciative too of the funding and the funding that we're lifting up in the technology department, so that Bart's crew can be really busy this summer. And from working in the district for as long as I have, I know that the work of facilities, maintenance, and technology, this is your busiest time to get all of those computers out of all of our district schools and put new teacher computers in. Teachers will be appreciative, but I know they'll have stress. They'll just be panicky that, it's a new piece of, it'll look a little bit like the same, but it will be different.
Right.
And that'll cause some stress, but it'll be good stress.
Thank you, thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Transportation.
Yes, the transportation department is continuing to navigate daily changes in routing per school request for the summer school sessions. We're transitioning from the new software now, and we are starting to enter routes for the 23-24 school year, so excited about that. But as with any software rollover, there are some glitches, so we hope to have everything cleared up by Friday. It's a team effort. I will have someone from finance help enter transportation requests until we get all caught up. The clericals come back, they'll be trained to use Infinite Campus and the transportation piece, so when they enter a transportation request, that would be automatically sent to this routing system, so it's really bringing us a lot further along, so we're pretty excited about that. Staffing is always a challenge, and we're still looking for a supervisor for the transportation department. We are excited that the transportation department will be 20 feet away from the main office now. So it will be easy for me or anyone else to go across the parking lot. And hey, and I think the team will feel much more supported because they won't be isolated out, by the freeway. And so Transportation Manager Jeremy Casapidis has expressed his excitement about that. So, they're working on buses. There's an upcoming DOT inspection. Again, he's always puts in there, we're dealing with an aging fleet. That's his note to me saying he needs new buses. And we have our 2 new buses that came, and that's it.
They worked?
They work. They both work.
Mrs. Zunich, are you going to share that we are all administrators are receiving their CDL licenses, just in
Right.
case?
So as we are
Except
only
for me.
we're only going to be 20 feet away from the transportation department, so if any of us need to hop on a bus, we're going to go drive a route. We're
Just kidding.
Just
Kidding.
kidding.
Just kidding.
That out there.
And I would be willing to, but not required.
Just kidding.
I have many skills, but
Good one.
Is there any desire on the part of transportation or our district to look at our van usage and where we're at with those vehicles? I think we're down 1 or 2, maybe
We are,
not as many
and
as we used to.
Assistant Superintendent Bonds has brought that to my attention almost last year even, that it would be ideal if we could have a van maybe at each site to help with some of the smaller runs, but money, they all cost money.
We had that at one point in our district,
Yes, and then
it wasn't as,
we have to-
parking and storing it during the winter, all of that seemed to be a struggle. I think that's why we moved away from it.
Right, and then it's to pay for them as well, to purchase them. But it's something that still has been requested, it's still in the back burner.
All right. Let's see, we already talked about the resolutions here, the LTFM and commercial insurance renewal. Acceptance of the donations, those are available to be looked at, and we thank everybody for all those. HR staffing report, do you want to add anything? Nothing to add there. How about the job description for facilities coordinator?
Yeah, so the facilities use coordinator classification is a new job description that will live in the DUIA contract. And it is to serve the purpose of managing community education and serving kind of as a liaison between the facilities department and the community education and the activities director to ensure that the after-school locations are properly scheduled and making sure that there's no conflicts. And so right now it's done through a variety of community education staff at different buildings. This will be a centralized person that will manage it for all 14 buildings.
Is this a new position?
It is a new position, yes. And it has been reviewed with the DUIA union with no issue.
And I'll add in terms of, there might be a question related to funding. It will be funded using our community education resources. They have the resources for the position, so it's not district funds that will be supporting this. It will be community education funds that will be supporting it.
And the next job description is also the family and community engagement coordinator is also a position that would exist within the DUIA contract. And I will let Assistant Superintendent Bonds further explain this one since he's here.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that we have assessed over the last 3 years is a deep need to really engage families in a more meaningful way. After lots of discussions, after a lot of stakeholder engagement with our principals and other department leaders, and knowing that we have resources available through our ESSER funding sources for family and community engagement, we've decided to move forward with a position that will support deep community stakeholder engagement and support buildings with other efforts they have related to community engagement, as well as support the working towards and building further community partnerships with organizations that exist within the community. Those are all things that we have heard over the last 3 years that there's a deep need for. So it's for family, community engagement, and development of deep partnerships with community organizations. So we're really excited about this new position as we see a great need that exists.
How is this going to be filled? Posted or?
The both will be posted.
But they haven't been yet.
No, after approval from the board on, pending approval of the board on Tuesday's meeting, then we would post them on Wednesday for both positions.
How will this one be funded?
Using ESSER 161 funds, so we have resources available for the first year using our ESSER resources. The plan is moving forward after ESSER is to also have it supported using our community education funding streams for it, because as part of community education is parent engagement. In addition to that, we also have resources under our Title I for family engagement, so it's going to be funded with multiple pots of funding sources to continue the funding after ESSER.
All right.
Do other districts have this position that you know of, that you could, network or see what they're, what they're doing with that position, or
Yes,
of any?
there
Okay.
are larger districts and then some mid-sized districts have these positions in place, and we reviewed some of those job descriptions. As a matter of fact, we repurposed a district's position to fulfill that need that we have in the district here as well. So yes, they do exist, and we use those resources to develop our position. And if you would like me to share any additional information on those districts that we researched, then just share some of those examples I can put the board, those other districts examples.
I think it aligns really well with what was being asked for from the desired daily experience from our families. To have somebody, because we rank really low, and we do our self-assessment around family and community engagement. That's one of the things we felt was most important for us.
Does some of the job description duties somewhat parallel with what our communication director Wellens does, or will there be a need for them to collaborate with who is doing what types of communication?
So there's a straight, like a full line of supervision by Anthony, but sort of a dotted line to Adele, our communication officer.
And I would say there's not necessarily overlap of those job descriptions, but there is supporting work that this job description will help to support the work that's done with that oversight.
Right, it's more of an enhancement, but you're right, it's spot on in terms of the vision is and the expectation is that there's deeper collaboration with our public information officer. So again, a part of this, the communication is huge, right?
Yeah,
so we
it
talk
is.
about parent engagement,
Yeah.
community engagement, really, again, having opportunities and the capacity to really strategically, we try to avoid the word target, to engage communities, especially communities who feel marginalized, who feel like, they're not being heard, listened to. This will provide us that additional capacity to really go deeper and to have someone who really can get in and really think about our other stakeholders in a more meaningful way, engage in a deeper way.
All right, good. Moving on, let's see. Facilities, financials, fundraiser, I think there's one. Change orders, there were quite a few.
Yeah, and I'm going to invite.
And,
I was going to say,
but we're still under budget, or within budget.
Do you think so?
Mostly,
Well,
mostly.
you know, that's what it said.
I'm gonna invite Nathan Norton from ICS to walk through those
Thanks.
change orders for us and answer any questions that might come.
Yeah, so if you get Nathan Norton, ICS, just to start off for some of the new, I mean, we've been working together for a long time now, Jeremy and Brian, but ICS's model, anytime there's a change order, we actually don't get a fee on it, so we set up construction budgets at the beginning of a project with allowances and contingencies for things that are unforeseen. So to his question, yeah, we're still on budget. We're not over budget. I wanted to leave you hanging on to the thread that we set. So, but yeah, there was quite a bit, but it's also been a while since I've been here. I think it was like November or something. So, the first couple meetings we came in, they were smaller. I actually walked through each one. The last meeting, I kind of did a recap on some of the bigger ones. Do you guys have a preference on how you want me to talk through these? Let me just touch on contingency at the moment. So right now we're at about 1.5%. A typical construction project we want between 3 and 5 at the beginning of construction, and then a successful project is if, you know, I know the owner you guys want more money at the end, but a successful project is still, you know, if there's a couple dollars left at the end of the day. So we're tracking at about 1.5% remaining right now, which is about 300 and some thousand. And I have forecasted with some other items, some recent changes, a couple board changes and stuff like that, that we're on track for about 0.75 to 0.9% remaining at the end of the day. So that's about, you know, another 150 grand or so that might be spent. So we're still under budget. We also have our owner expense and our general conditions line items. We haven't used all those, but that's something that Teresa and I will work on. So do you want me to start running through these? I can go.
Highlight the big ones, I think.
Yeah, the big ones are good, yeah.
Just highlight the big ones.
I think sometimes for me personally, it isn't so much each line item, or it's just really more of sharing with our board and our community, you know, maybe a little bit about why these changes happened, and that we are well aware that, you know, we plan for this. We know that when we get to this stage, when everything is really coming together, you're gonna see that, yeah, that backsplash or that drinking fountain or that tile, we needed either more or a different type, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of the facilities, the existing building, you know, conduit was in the existing conduit was just in the way of the backsplash unforeseen. That's that second one there.
Yeah.
We added, there was one door in that whole building where we left the existing controls and stuff on. We're like, the design that way. It's like, why don't we just get that updated? So the whole everything's new. So that's that change of that 3,200 facilities. I'll try some bigger ones. The 51,000 one, that's a big one, changing that 111. That's
What number is that, like 21?
number 3 on
I've
the
already scrolled up.
DSC.
Okay.
So that was a bigger one. There's a couple things happening there. The design showing the new road, demo plan showed how they had to remove a lot of the the bike path to tie into the new elevations. But the new replacement plan did not show any of that tying. So if it was drawn that way on bid day, they would bid it, but it wasn't on the bid documents that way. So they had to provide pricing for it after the fact. It's also, so it's bike path and the sidewalks back, and it's also an additional like 17,000 that you guys have been driving when you leave on Central Entrance. There's a giant pothole there.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, so that was going to remain because that was not part of the project.
I was wondering, I was like, that would be so crazy to have like this beautiful road and then
And
this,
then you have,
it's, the pothole's almost as big as the area between the tables.
yeah. So with the contingency you have, talking to the city's like, that's on a 10-year plan if we're ever going to get to it. So and they would blame us for damaging it, or your guys' construction group. And it was like 8,000 to do a patch. So, or no, it was 10,000 to do a cold patch, and it was 17,000 just to get it completely replaced. So now it'll be all brand new. So that's at a change event 7, or excuse me, item number 7, change event 105. That's another big one. That one you guys aren't actually going to have to pay for. That one's going to get back charged to the city, and they're 100% aware of that. So that's on my radar. I'm waiting for some costs from Northern NCE, the engineering firm, because they had to oversee it. So when they got into that intersection one we just talked about, there was some bad valves. And the city is like, hey, you guys are going to be replacing this road ASAP in order to get it completed. How much Vite just replaces it, because we won't be able to get anybody out there for weeks. So Vite, your guys' prime contractor, replaced it. We do have emails from the city with them saying that they would be paying those costs. So that one will get back fit. It's another large one. The big change event 76, which is item 26. That's 181,000. That's an insurance claim. So under your guys' builder's risk, there was a windstorm that ripped off a quarter of the metal roofing of the bus garage. So that's an insurance claim.
So that'll come back as well,
Yeah.
or at least a portion
Right.
of that.
Yeah. And in fact, Teresa and I, we do need to circle back on that. Right now, the insurance company has only agreed to like 142. There was more wet insulation, so now that we have the documentation for that, I'll have to push that back to the insurance company. I think I skipped one because Bart's name is on here. He doesn't get enough credit. He walks through the site and he's fine. I'm understanding how busy you all are when I'm sitting in these meetings. You guys are running everywhere. But he's also walking through the site and finding areas like, hey, we need data here. This isn't quite right here. We'd like it to be changed over here. So there's some data adds and requests there. So it's not, I don't want to say it's like per Bart, but we're good on Bart for catching these things. So before you guys are moved in and having to deal with it. There's more.
And just wait until the school board does a walkthrough, like, maybe we should be doing that this week, so we can do some change orders, like, where's my refrigerator? Where's my plug-in for this? We won't.
Yeah, there's some old ones on here that were from, back in like December when they were wrapping things up, rock removal. That's that item 53, change event 43. The big one for demolition project is the very last one on your page, item 2 on the very bottom. That's that 133,000. So that was a big one, but you guys had a lot of diesel fuel. It actually went all the way down to bedrock. We had 10,000 tons, 10,500 tons of soil removal. That was like 85 dump trucks going back and forth. You got lucky, so there was a couple things going on. We were up against the wire with the land sale. There couldn't be any contaminants on your site, or the sale could fall through. So that was some of the decision. Mr. Spooner was still here at the time, was just clean it up, get it out of there. So we did field work orders with Vite, where our site superintendent signed off on every truck so all that backup was included. But they did have to go down, and we got lucky that they didn't have to do test wells into the bedrock. So Ron was the testing agency. They verified that the contaminants did not permeate or soak into the rock. So that was good. Otherwise, test wells would have had to been installed forever.
And so that property now is free and clear of the ISD 709. That property's, all those due diligence and all those deadlines are passed. They own that property.
Yeah, there's a clause in there that allows the demo project to wrap up. But yeah, it's from my understanding, it's all the.
And the demo project has wrapped up, right?
Yeah, there's some final seeding and stuff that needs to happen. Actually, starting to look where they did seed, it's already coming back to it. I don't know. It looks different without that school.
Really, is
I was
it?
just up there today.
I should try that.
Very nice.
Can we just try that?
That's, any other questions? So I did skip over a few. There's a lot of them that we review, we negotiate, we reject before they get to the approval letter. So it's a change order with a time contract, $0 change in contract.
I saw the charge for the letters for the siding, and just thinking about like naming procedures, if the district were to name it something, to give it a different name, for example, is it possible to replace the letters? Just wondering.
Yeah.
We did,
Yes?
we're assuming because it was called sort of a generic name that it doesn't fall within the naming procedure aspect, but if we decided to call it the Member Kirby District Service Center.
Yeah,
Right now, you've got the letters that say
District
Duluth, just District Service Building, or Duluth Public Schools?
Schools, District Service Center.
Yes.
Yes.
Looks really
Each of
sharp.
the buildings has transportation center, facilities, and then district service center on the administrative.
Looks really nice.
The letters are on there?
So, yeah.
It's looking sharp.
And it's so they're mounted to the precast, but you can infill. It's kind of like a mortar if you had to remove them, or you could design your new letter system to go off with the same penetration.
So I hope we keep it District Service Center. Or what?
Can you give those percentages that you started out with? You said we had a, what, $39 million project?
32.
32 million.
Yeah.
Is it 32
Little
million?
under, just under, yes.
And you said there's how much left?
So we had 39,442 was the original LTFM. There was sale proceeds, and then there was interest earnings rolled in. And then I did plug in the insurance claim and then the city valve replacement change order as the total budget. Okay, what was your question?
You said there was 1.5% left?
Like 330,000?
Yeah.
You project will be left by the time, or that's left, that's in,
Yeah, 360 right now.
right now, yeah.
Yeah. And then I have, we have the projection of the items that we've been requesting and requesting pricing on, showing after those are expelled of 180 to be remaining.
180. So if we wanted one more refrigerator,
Oh, yeah,
or one
absolutely.
more outlet, or,
Copy.
or something.
Well, we still could get change
Copier,
orders, right?
yeah.
You will, yeah. And then, you know, another thing I have written down here, so you guys all know the inflation that's happened over the course of
Yes,
the years. And
yeah.
it feels like it's starting to stabilize. There was a handful of price hike ones that were due to, you know, just, we can't get a shop drawing, to be like, they can't verify windows until the rough openings are in. So those ones were reasonable. But there's a couple of them, and it's actually to the tune of about $50,000, where they do have backup, and these prime contractors with you guys are like requesting and bug me all the time, wanting these price hike change orders. And it's kind of open to the district if that's something that you guys would like to pursue. Now that we're getting near the end, I've been holding out saying, hey, you know, we're not even going to talk about these until the end of the project. If they're ones that you know, they could have ordered right away, but if they would have ordered them, they would have, you know, there would have been storage, it would have been incurred costs. There has been some that I've just flat out said, we're not paying that one, that's crazy. But there's where they just blatantly didn't order something. But there's about $50,000 worth that does seem justifiable, that you know, some districts do pay for price hikes. They kind of look at them on a one-by-one basis. You know, something to consider.
We also had through the legislation,
Yeah.
the sales tax exemption, which on construction materials, which saved the district, I believe, roughly 500,000.
On this project.
Yes. Thanks to
So
Good luck.
they say I was gonna ask that, I was gonna ask what the impact is of the legislative bill that gave that option. So were we able to like spend an extra 500,000 because we knew that we were getting that kind of tax break?
Right
So
now,
it's
it's
kind
not
of woven
included.
into that?
It's not included at all in here right now, so that would be
That would
additional.
go into the
Yeah.
general reserves.
That increases the ICS fee. No, just joking.
Just a little under 500.
Yeah, 490.
So that 32 million was for the entire build out of everything that's there, not just the district service center.
Right,
So-
the district service center was about 9, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so the construction cost, not including any FF, like furniture, technology, some numbers here. So, district services center, the 9 number you're talking about was when we had the site work not included, but it was under bites. So with change orders today, district services center is about 10 million. Facilities cost about 2.3. Transportation came in at about 6.6, and all that public roadway and a lot of the rock removal was 2.3. The demolition project, if you guys care to hear, was $1 million, and the abatement was 1.6.
I appreciate that, and the reason I'm asking that or doing that clarification, because I knew it wasn't 31 million. You might think it's a $31 million building for a district office that was built, and it's
Oh,
not. It's
right.
Yeah, that's very
You get
true.
it, it's
Yep.
It's a $2 million
Yeah.
building that was built for district services.
Right, yeah.
It was a $339 million project that included a transportation building, bus storage building, facilities upgrades, demolition of a building that, are we ever going to work with the new developer for a share of that? That's probably not for ICS to tell us we did or don't, but I thought there was, or did that go away with negotiations for selling that property? There was a time when we first started this journey that demolition was gonna be shared by the new owners of that property
It
up
was
there.
part of the purchase
Okay,
agreement,
okay, so we actually got 2 million more than maybe that was worth.
if I remember.
I don't know if it's exactly 2 million. I do have sale proceeds that were part of the original budget of 2 million, but I don't know if that was historic Old Center, Old Central, historic Central High School.
Or if
I'd have
it
to
was
go back
the
on what
land
name
up
it
there,
was,
yeah.
Because that was set up with laws. Those original funding sources, once they're there, I never even look at them. So I'd have to go back, probably Kathy gave me something to look
And
at.
sometimes I ask these questions because I know other board members might ask it, so it gives you an opportunity to at least think through, some potential questions that might either come up at the board meeting or might just be emailed to you asking those questions. But I know that demolition of Central High School was somewhat in the beginning of this journey talked about with the sale of that land, and you're right, that might have been already figured into the,
Right, it was a
deal.
stipulation of the purchase agreement, but I can't remember the exact
Yeah.
one.
and I can remember we needed it down before the property new owners needed to have it down, so we had to kind of go through it and do it
And we had
ourselves.
to set it up as a TIF
Yeah.
district. There was a lot of clocks ticking on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Nathan. You have your check?
I have the check, yeah. I'm gonna drop it off my soup right now if I'm gonna sneak out of town here. There's an update, looks like, on the, just overall project. I can stick around for that if you guys want. It's like, item 5.
Okay, yeah, we'd love to have you around. We like hearing about the new facility or when do you think the first school board meeting will be in September up on that site?
I think August.
I think August.
Really?
We're planning our new hire orientation on the 21st of August in that site.
That site.
Yes.
And Bart has assured us the boardroom is gonna be ready, right?
I can't say that. They're still working on it. They're putting it listed, it was 80% done.
So I should be going up there sometime soon with, M&M dispensers and kind of storage of where that candy can be safely stored, locked.
I wouldn't bring it, But you could certainly check out where you might want to store it.
That's right.
There's still a lot of
That's
construction.
exciting.
so I
Okay,
didn't
yeah.
want it
It's,
to be.
it's really come along.
Yeah.
Just having been away from it for a few weeks, it's really, there's a lot of new progress.
And we could certainly, as we get towards the end of the month or even in the next couple weeks, schedule another board
Trip.
trip up there
Yeah.
before.
That'd be great.
We want to have.
Are we planning some kind of a ribbon cutting ceremony?
Yes.
And who might come? It'd be,
We're
I think
working
it'd be really fun to reach out to past board members that are here, especially with the finishing of our transportation building. But it'd be fun to have others that have served as school board members to come and tour it and give thanks to them for the setup. I sometimes, the longer I'm a school board member, really appreciate other boards that have come before us and really know that we really are accomplishing a lot just because of the shoulders of them that we stand on. So there's a sense that I would love to celebrate, past Duluth Public School board members that have made tough decisions along the way that have led to this.
Okay, moving on. Simone, is that who's gonna talk about the math expressions and
Oh, the new curriculum?
Right, we
Yeah,
normally would not do something like that, but we are agreeing to a 3-year contract with them, with
Okay.
Houghton Mifflin. And it's $386,000 over 3 years, so, and I know you've signed it, so we appreciate that, thank you. And we will make an annual payment, we won't be paying it all at once.
Right.
But we have to have it set up that way, and especially, contracts are audited differently as well. So that's why we brought it to you.
And this is new middle school because we're moving in Spanish and math?
Let me look at the
Or is
contracts,
it,
make sure I'm telling you
I
correctly.
know,
This is a 3-year subscription for K1, 2. We have it all complete, we printed out all of it for you, grade 4, 5, and it just stops at 5.
okay,
So
so
K through 5.
K through 5, okay.
we don't need to do anything with this right now?
No, we just wanted to,
Okay,
Will it be on the consent agenda?
yes,
Or, yeah.
yes, it will be.
all right, and then there's a lease for the Harvard building.
Yes, so we are excited about leasing some extra space across from our current adult basic ed. They're using space at Arvig, and we are looking for additional space. It's 3,400 or 3,500 square feet. And we will, because of the approval in July, we're going to be able to take ownership of that lease on September 1 through June. And it will help facilitate some extra space and needs that we have until everything else gets settled and we know where we can help with other programming and where we could put them. So
So this is not in the same Arvig building, it's across the street from it?
it's, I'm sorry, it is across the hallway.
Oh, across the hallway?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
okay,
across the hallway.
okay.
Mhm.
And is it because their offerings and their population and who's taking advantage of what we offer there is growing? Or
They're just
they've been there for 2 years now and they just need more?
adult ed, as you're asking?
Yeah.
No, it's not connected to adult ed at all, actually.
Oh,
It's
it's not?
connected to additional space needs that we have across the district. We have sites where there's Denfeld or Lowell or other spaces where we have district office staff officing out of schools. So we want to pull some of those
Okay.
individuals into a space temporarily until hopefully some other opportunities happen for us with other pursuits that we have. Well, it's not a secret anymore with the D&T building or other opportunities. This providing us a 1-year option for, again, meeting the needs of space across the
For our
district.
work, for, yeah,
Yep, we
for a
have-
variety of
variety.
our staff.
That's right.
And then there's another lease, Northwood Children's in Chester Creek,
Yeah, this is just a renewal,
renewal.
yes.
I thought that was right. All right. District property update, is there anything?
Don't really have anything.
No.
At this point? All right.
Well, I think that's where if there was any questions about the,
Just
Is
for
that
service.
construction-wise?
the projects, the hill, this is the time to ask for it. And there's some pictures there you can see.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw those.
And I know from a board perspective, we wanted to make sure that the tables had privacy screen or fold down, and they do have fold down.
Their certificate of occupancy is scheduled for Tuesday next week.
Woo-hoo!
So,
Sorry.
There's, if you go there right
Doesn't
now.
mean
Moving
to
in.
move, no.
It's been a stressful couple of weeks. The fire marshal came in and changed their mind on a plan revision, so we've had to take those P-LAN panels down and modify the ceiling, so if you walk in there, no flooring in the lobby yet. So it looks like, hey, how are we coming in here in a week? So
When will the flooring in the lobby be done?
they're working on it now. So, yeah, they'll finish that by the end of the week, and then radiant heat has to go on top of that around the perimeter. But the striping, half of it's happening this week at the buildings. And then landscaping will really be going full steam ahead next week. But yeah, you don't need landscaping for the skid wall. So I would recommend the ribbon cutting, you might want to get more comfortable in the space, for a month or so before you.
Maybe after the school year starts, like, it might be nice to do, while the weather's nice, like second or third week in September.
Yeah, well, it's still nice.
After we're actually
Having a
ready.
meeting.
Yeah,
Correct.
Just being, this was an emergency.
I like that idea.
Actually, Dell will be back. in
Bunch of
Did she work on any of that as requested?
Or I should blast them another evo right now.
Okay,
Okay,
good luck, then. Didn't eat Dr. Eater's.
I'm gonna take this call just because it's now.
Okay, yeah.
Hello?
Any
Yes.
expenditure contracts, revenue contracts, no contracts, any,
nothing that stands out.
nothing that stands out?
Yep,
They're all
Basic,
there
yes.
for everybody to see.
Right.
I am, I'm just sitting in
Okay.
the school board meetings, and I know my brother.
All right then, I think then we have finished.
Good job.
Well,
It's almost
Speak,
as
Kelly.
exciting